The book I recently finished reading is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. The book is about a group of students in liberal arts college in America who are studying Greek and classics, and basically this book is the detective, but not a classical detective like you would expect, not the who done it but why done it. It's revealed in the first chapter who the murderers are, who was murdered, but it's still very interesting to read because the characters are plainly incredible. Truth be told, when I read it for the first time, I didn't particularly enjoy it because I think I had the wrong expectations, but then I reread it, this time in English, in its original language, and I was just mesmerized by it. I think the reason why this book was so popular and is so popular is, like I said, because of its characters, because Donna Tartt is capable of writing 3D people like they're real, and you can see their flaws, you can see their habits, you can see how they view each other, what do they think about each other, and it's just so witty and interesting and heartbreaking and tragic that it's really worth giving it a read.
The book is The Everything Store by Brad Stone, Jeff Bezos and the Age of Amazon. So it basically follows Jeff Bezos and his life, so where he was born, how he grew up, how he came up with the idea of Amazon, and how he then, with a couple of his friends, made that idea, founded it, turned it into a reality. All the way up to the present day, where he now runs Amazon and is the richest man, I believe, in the world. I enjoyed the book because it offers some really interesting sort of anecdotes and insights into the way how one of the biggest companies in the world is currently run. It shows sort of a the unique attitude that Jeff Bezos holds and his unique sort of managerial and business style. Yeah, I found that really interesting, how he's very controlling, very strict, but it also made me realize I wouldn't particularly want to work with him. I think it's important because, again, it's one of the biggest companies in the world at the moment. They do loads of the deliveries and books. This book probably came from Amazon. So knowing more about one of the wealthiest and most influential people in the world is always worth learning about, and learning how he communicates, how he manages and organizes himself, and the sort of techniques that he uses, I think could be helpful to other people as well.
I've read Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. The book is about a prisoner which were to prison for a few years because of stealing bread. It's about his story from now on and how he becomes a good guy. You can read it in your free time, and it's like a cool story, so it's like you don't waste your time. Other people should read it because, yeah, it's one of the best stories ever, and I think it's one of the best things to do when you are free, like you don't have anything to do.
So this is a book I recently read it. It's called Thinking Fast and Slow. It is a psychology book. So it's written by Daniel Kahneman. He is a famous American psychologist and economist. He was studying psychology in the university and then became the lecturer of the Harvard University. So he awards the 2002 Nobel Prize in Economics. So basically this book introduced two systems while we are thinking. So the first system one is more like using intuition and things we already knew. And this one is to make a quicker and then intentional decisions while we're making. Like, for example, 2 + 2 is 4. And the system 2 is a system we require more thinking and more attention, and it will stop once you have been distracted from it. And like an example of finding the numbers of A's in an articles. So thinking the system 2 will sometimes influence the process in system 1. And this is basically because they are more accurate when during decision making, and it is more requires more thinking and do the stuff. And however, the system one is sometimes more tend to be used by ourselves because this is more easy and much quicker than system two. So basically this book are teaching us when to use our system one and when we can't believe it. So the things I enjoy is because Daniel had taught me a lot of ways I can prevent my intuition affected me, and it having used in a lot of times, especially like some important decisions, and they teach me to think twice before you act and speak. And different to other books, Thinking Fast and Slow are more interesting, and they give like different behavioral experiments, and they make you feel not boring like than reading like psychology books, and it is easier for someone who is not studying psychology to read it. This book is teaching you how and when to make decisions, and like it's mostly important for some DLD future economists and entrepreneurs because they need a skill to think in the long run, but they also need the skill to make fast decisions, so which is using by system 1 and 2 together.
So the book is called Do No Harm, Stories of Life, Death and Brain Surgery. It is written by a neurosurgeon, a very famous British neurosurgeon. And in his retirement he decided to write a book with stories about his patients, but not only, also about his struggles, his achievements, his failures, and how he got up to where he was. There are different approaches to the book. Some people would say that it's an autobiography of the neurosurgeon about his life and his professional life, but some other would say that they are just human dramas, patients who just found out that have diseases and they don't know how to cope with that, and it shows that how the system, how the medical system, or how the doctors work, and how they want to help them, and sometimes then they can't, and people don't understand it. I enjoyed it most because it was very approachable to everyone, even those who didn't have any previous knowledge about medical environments. It learned you a lot, basic stuff about medicine, and also it was really realistic because it taught you about real life struggles, how people deal with it, and how can you make your hospital life more easily. What I also liked about the book was that at first he was telling stories about failures, which was at first was very devastating, and you were like, oh, why, this is what humans, this is how we are going to end up. But then towards the end he shows a lot of stories that are like miracles. So even the doctor wasn't really hopeful about those cases, but people survived in the end. So that might give us hope in the future. Well, even something happens and we can't do anything about it, maybe there's more to it, and we should have hope until the end. I think you should read it because I think that the students and also older people need to understand that doctors are real humans and they make mistakes, and we don't have to see them as heroes. Even the author a lot of times brings that up and tells that I'm only human and I do mistakes, and some things are out of my control, and I think that it's a good way to not depend our lives only on doctors and hate them if something goes wrong, or love them if something goes right, but we need to understand that they are only humans And also the book helps you understand a lot about the system, the NHS system, and also how people need to deal with their problems.